All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, I think I have a game plan for today. We will see if I stick to it. It does not matter. So, we're gonna go ahead and get started with some pretty straightforward core activation. I wanna get into some, essentially some like Pilates circuit work by the end. So like planks, push-ups, things like that, some squats, all the good stuff. So we're gonna try and get like abs ready for it, definitely shoulders and chest ready for all that kind of stuff, and then squeeze in some stretching by the end if I can really manage my time appropriately. So that'll really be the test. To start, we're just gonna lie down on the mat. We're gonna do some dead bug variations because it's a really, in a way simple and classic, but very efficient way to get the core ready. So once you're on your back, you wanna find a neutral spine. So take a moment to scan down your body, starting from the top of your head down to your tail. And you're gonna make sure that your neck has got some natural curvature to it. You wanna have some space there between your neck and the floor. You want that same type of space between your lower back and the floor as well. Nothing crazy, you don't wanna have a huge arch there, but just a small little tunnel underneath your lower back. And then you want your upper back, or you can visualize your chest if it's easier to visualize the front of your body, being really heavy into the floor, especially your bottom two ribs that have a tendency to poke upward. And if you do those three things together, the space in the neck, the space in the low back, and that grounding in your upper back / chest / bottom ribs, you should already start to feel just like the tiniest bit of core activation, really, really small, but noticeable, especially as you breathe. So once you feel you've got the alignment correct, you're just gonna take a couple of breaths. Nothing special. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And what you'll feel is at the very end of your exhale, you get a little tightening in your abdominals. And not just in your abdominals, but your whole core, which is a bunch of muscles that wrap all the way around your midsection, front, side, and back. And when you're confident you have found that alignment and that sensation, you're gonna simply lift your legs up to a tabletop position, and then your arms straight up to the ceiling with your palms facing each other. As always with me, your legs can be a real classic tabletop with a 90-degree angle behind your knees, or you can allow the knees to soften and the heels to go down so you have a more relaxed tabletop. Just make sure you maintain your knees directly over your hips. We're gonna start by just doing some reaching with our limbs. Take your right arm and reach it long towards the floor behind you. Just don't touch the ground, leave it at a hover, and then bring your arm back up. Do the same thing with your left arm. Reach it back, hover it off the floor behind you, and then lift. Now take your right leg and reach it forward, as low to the ground as you can maintain. And bend it back in. Same thing with the left leg. Reach it long in front of you, low to the floor, and back in. Now we're gonna repeat that, arm, leg, same tempo. And as we cycle through the limbs, the most important part is maintaining that spinal alignment we set up in. The space under the neck, the space under the lower back, and the groundedness in your rib cage. We'll go one more time through the limbs, one at a time. Arm, leg. Don't worry if you mess up the order a little bit. All we're doing is challenging that alignment by sending some weight away from the center. So whether it's the arm or the leg, when you make that movement, you're just gonna feel that tightening sensation in your center, like we talked about with the breath, but tighter. Good. So now we'll simply start adding things together. Reach your right arm and left leg at the same time. Bring it back in and switch. Left arm and right leg. We'll alternate a couple of times. Go whatever tempo you need to maintain that spinal alignment. Always free to pause at any moment to double check. I would say for most people, the biggest thing to look out for is that cue with the rib cage. It's so tempting in an exercise like this to let the ribs poke up off of the floor. And if you do that, you're gonna put unnecessary tension in your back, and you're gonna lose that core contraction that's so important. Not just in this particular exercise, but really in everything, especially anything that uses a neutral spine. Now we'll do all 4 limbs together, both arms and both legs reaching away, spine stays the same, and back. We'll go 3 more. Reaching long, hovering all of your limbs off the floor as close as you can while maintaining control. And make sure that at no point are you holding your breath. That's the real killer. Good. Pause again with the arms and legs up, and then we'll add a little bit more intensity to it by lifting the head and shoulders. When you lift up, you want to keep that space in the lower back, but really push the ribs down like you're trying to fold yourself from that space underneath your rib cage. And then we'll rewind and go back to reaching the limbs separately. Just reach your right arm back. And then just your left arm. And then the right leg forward. And the left leg forward. Good, 2 more times with all the limbs reaching individually. If at any point you really have to let the head lower down, go for it. The most important thing here is that core contraction. So make that your top priority. And if that means the head needs to go down for a little bit of a break, don't worry about it. 1 more time. Right arm. Left arm. Right leg. And left leg. And then again, we'll start putting things together. Right arm, left leg together. Left arm, right leg together. Couple more times on each side. If you still got your head up, make sure your focus is somewhere down towards your belly button or your pelvis. It's really tempting to let the eyes float up. It's much harder for the head to hold itself up that way. Now finally reach all of your limbs out together and bring it up. Let's go for 3 more. Out and up. Last 2. 1 more. Good, let your head go down. Grab onto your knees, hug them in towards your chest. You can let go of that neutral for a second and just let the pelvis round. Kind of do what feels good for your lower back or your abdominals. Maybe it's rocking the back a little bit or stirring the thighs. Got like 10 seconds to do it feels good. Because up next is like the actual ab series. That was technically the warm-up for it. So, before our ab series, I just want to briefly set back up in that dead bug again. Legs in tabletop, arms straight up, neutral spine, space under the neck and the lower back, grounding in the rib cage. Lift the head and shoulders. Now you're gonna hug your right knee in even closer with both hands and stretch your left leg low to the floor. See if you can maintain that space in the lower back. We're gonna take an inhale and do nothing, and then exhale to change. Another inhale to do nothing, and an exhale to change. We got 2 more painfully slow. This is so you can keep being mindful of your lower back. And if your brain can manage another thing, being mindful of your breath as well. Now just go a little faster. Same movement for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pausing with the right leg back in. Now we just stretch the right leg up to the ceiling, grab behind the thigh. Same pattern as far as breathing and moving. We're gonna breathe in and don't do anything. Exhale, change. Breathe in, don't do anything, just stretch that leg. And change. Another 2 more painfully slow. So you can constantly check back in with the space in your low back, the groundedness in your bottom ribs, whether your head is up or down. Both of those things apply. Same thing, just a little bit faster. For 8, 7, 6, 5. Keep that focus down towards your belly button. 3, 2, and 1. Now both legs are going to be bent with each hand on top of either knee or shin. Check back in with that low back. When the knees come in like this, it's super easy to accidentally imprint the low back down. Now, we've technically already done this, so it should feel familiar. Reach the limbs out and bring it back in. 3 more. And in. For 2. 1 more. This time, when your hands come back, you're gonna put them behind your head. Now see if you can get even higher with the help of your arms. Really swing those bottom ribs into the floor. Put your legs together and then straighten them to the ceiling. Now you're gonna separate your toes to make a first position. And we're gonna lower the legs down as low to the floor as you can. And lift back up. Another 3, nice and slow. Next 2. And 1 more. Now we go into our crisscross by bending the right knee back in, left leg low, twist towards your right leg. Inhale, hold. Exhale, change. Inhale, hold. Exhale, change. 2 more, painfully slow. And then it's almost over. Now just 8, a little bit faster. For 8, 6, 4, 2, and 1. Hug the knees back in. Let the head finally rest down. Take a couple of breaths. Another opportunity for some hip stirs. Maybe a couple of low back stirs. Or you could just lift your head up, hug your knees in super close, and be the tightest ball humanly possible. And then let it go. Straighten your legs on the floor. We'll move on to some roll-ups. So, since I've been nagging about it already, I'll continue. We're back to that neutral spine, yeah? Space under the neck, space under the lower back, grounding in the rib cage. Keep your legs straight underneath you on the floor. Lift your arms up to the ceiling again, palms facing each other. We're gonna inhale, reach the arms back. Exhale, lift them up, and then lift your head, your shoulders, and then you're gonna peel the rest of your back off the floor 1 bone at a time until you're reaching long past your feet. Now from here, we're gonna go straight back down. Pull your belly button into your back. Curve your spine as much as possible. And then you're gonna touch 1 bone down to the floor at a time until you're all the way flat again in that neutral spine. And we go again, reach the arms back on an inhale. Exhale, lift your arms, lift your head and shoulders, peel the rest of you off the ground 1 bone at a time, and reach long past the feet. From here, go straight back again. Pull your belly button backward in space The deeper you get this curve, the deeper you get this contraction, the more control you will have to get yourself on the floor. One more time, inhale, reach the arms back. Exhale, lift your arms, lift your shoulders, lift the rest of you. Nice and slow, because it's fun. Reach your arms long past your feet. And then from here, just sit straight up. Don't go all the way back. Perfect. From here, we'll do a bit of a rowing series. It'll be more ab, but then also a little more stretch for the hips. So one change for the legs, gonna butterfly the legs together, so bottoms of the feet together. Knees just nice and relaxed off to the side. And then you wanna get yourself as vertical as possible, right on top of your pelvis. So you may need to move your feet a little further away and play with that distance a bit. Yeah, you just wanna get the legs, don't worry about it so much. Whatever helps you be as tall as possible, that is all that matters. Now, rowing series is in 3 parts. The first part, sit straight up, place 2 fists in front of your sternum, the elbows slightly lifted. Now, part 1 is all about that curve in the spine. So you're gonna pull your belly button back again. Start to go back, but this time you're gonna stop about halfway, or until you feel your lower back start to touch, or until you feel your feet start to get light. Now reach your arms down and forward, making 2 low diagonals. And then we're gonna take the upper body forward as the arms go back. So stay here for a moment. It's 2 things at once. It's a stretch and it's an exercise. You are stretching by getting your forehead as low to your heels as possible, but you're engaging the backs of your shoulders and your upper back by lifting your arms high and pressing them in towards one another. Now keep your body low as you wrap your arms around to the front. That should allow you to sink even deeper. It'll feel great for your hips. And then simply restack, sit up nice and straight. And we do that same exact thing 2 more times. Curve back. About halfway, or until your low back touches, or until your feet feel light. Reach those arms forward. Now reach your body forward, arms back. Let the head go down, let the arms reach up and together. Bring your arms around to the front, sink even deeper into the stretch. Now restack your spine. We got 1 more time through that same exact thing. Curve back. And then reach forward. Now body goes forward, arms go back. Then arms wrap around to the front. Sink deeper into the hips. Restack, reset. Now we go into part 2, which is all about keeping a straight spine. The arms get a new place as well, 90-degree angles, elbows at shoulder height. So no more curving, no more tucking, none of that. You're gonna stay nice and tall and simply lean back. Again, about halfway or until your feet feel light. You definitely don't wanna feel your low back on the ground for this one. Now reach your arms long, maintain that position of the body. And then from here, we're going to hinge forward as the arms go back, which means you don't wanna round over. Don't aim your forehead to your toes. Keep your back as long as possible. Arms, however, still the same, reaching up and pushing together. And then arms come around to the front. Sink deeper into your hips, but don't round the back. Remember, we're trying to be long. And then sit straight back up, arms return. We go again. Take that lean back. Find a place that's challenging but sustainable as you reach your arms long. Now, pitch your body forward as your arms go back. Keep your spine as straight as possible. Arms up and together behind you. Bring them around to the front. Get deeper into the stretch without rounding. And then sit back up. 1 more time, lean back. Reach the arms long. Pitch forward, reach back. Bring your arms around to the front, get deeper into the stretch, but even longer in the back. And then sit back. Arms return. Good. For the last part, we will straighten the legs forward again, because this one's much more about a hamstring stretch, if I'm being honest. Hamstring stretch and posture. Two great things. So you're gonna place your hands on the floor beside you, right about even with your hips, maybe a little bit further back if it feels more comfortable for your shoulders. And you can also rotate your hands out a little bit, just whatever, feels better for the shoulders. Now we're gonna start by pushing into the floor. Not like you're gonna lift off the floor, but don't actually do that. It's just to make your back feel straighter and lighter. Now start to roll down. Once you're about halfway, reach your hands forward and just fold yourself in half. Now keep your body low, raise your arms up to engage your upper back. Lift yourself up to a vertical spine. And stay tall as you tap your fingertips down in front of you. Lift them up to the ceiling. And then circle them around to the side to come back to where they started. We go again. Push into the floor to lengthen your back. Now start to roll down. Reach your hands forward, fold yourself in half. Keep your body low, lift your arms, lift your back, and then stay tall, tap the fingertips down, lift them up, circle. One more time, push into the floor. Feel how those shoulders press down, and then round. Reach your hands forward, fold yourself in half. Keep your body low as you lift your arms, then lift the rest of you. Tap your fingertips down, lift them up, circle around to the side, and we move on. From here, move your hands a little further back from wherever they are now, maybe like 4 to 6 inches from your hips. You may need to further adjust the angle of your hands. Again, it's all about what's comfy for your shoulders. Now bend your knees just enough to get your feet flat on the ground. So you don't want to be super, super tight here. It's like a slightly longer position than if, say, you were doing a bridge on the floor. So we're gonna do some reverse tabletop, so we're gonna try and stay neutral today. So normally there'd be like some tucking and rounding to get up here. We're gonna try and keep the back the same shape as we do this. So start by putting some pressure into the floor with your hands and your feet, and then you're simply going to lift your hips up as high as you can, or until you feel a straight line from your shoulders to your knees. If your neck is sensitive, you may want to keep your focus down towards your stomach, but if you can manage it, maybe even bring your head back in space a little bit. And then to come down, just break at the front of your hips until your hips touch down, and then go right back up. Push into your hands and feet, and then use your glutes to lift your hips up as high as you can, or until you feel that straight line. Yeah, you're gonna feel a big stretch in the front of your shoulders. That is definitely part of the point. Make sure that you're really keeping your shoulders in the socket though. Don't let them collapse up to your ears. Break at the hips, come down. One more time, lift up. Stay. Now see if you can lift your right leg off the floor. You're gonna have to put way more pressure into your left foot. Just find a tabletop, hold it for a second. Lower down and switch. Hold the left leg up for a second. Lower down and switch. We're gonna go each leg one more time. And change. This is just for a little extra balance practice, a little extra stability work for the core. And then break the hips, come down. Excellent. Same thing now with the legs extended. If for whatever reason your legs absolutely cannot do this next version, you're just gonna repeat, same thing as before. Low repetition never hurt nobody. Hands and arms are the same. Legs are now straight, parallel, and forward. You can flex or point your feet for this, frankly, whatever feels the most helpful. Other than that, it's essentially the same. You're gonna push into your hands, push your feet down, use your glutes to lift your hips up as high as you can, or until you feel a straight line from your shoulders to your feet. Again, the head can go back or stay down, looking towards your belly button, depending on what's more comfortable. Break at the hips, lower down. As soon as your hips touch the floor, lift right back up. Get that long line from shoulders to feet. And lower down. One more time, lift and hold. And then again, we're gonna lift the right leg, this time straight up to the ceiling. Don't worry about the height so much, it's more about the balance than anything else. And then change. Again, if this is too intense, just do the previous version. Or if you like this version, but changing the legs is a little too much, you can just stay there and hold. Certainly nothing wrong with that. And then break it, the hips come down. Perfect. From here, we're gonna switch over to our hands and knees. No fancy transition, just get there. Flip yourself around. I'll face this way today. Sun's that way, it'll feel nicer. So, as always, on your hands and knees, you want your hands right underneath your shoulders, knees right underneath your hips. Now, I nagged you about that neutral spine at the beginning of class a lot. Same rules apply here. You want a little curvature behind the neck, a little curvature on the lower back, but you want that upper back really lifted and supported and those bottom ribs kind of floating up. Once you're there, we'll do a few cat-cows. Yeah, now that I got you set up, we're gonna move. Start by exhaling, draw your belly button up to the ceiling, contract your abs, scoop your tailbone, let your head relax down, hold it for a sec, and then go the other direction. Arch your back, relax your tailbone up, lift your chest up and forward. And now at your own pace, just go ahead and alternate a few times. If you feel like you need one of these movements more than the other, feel free to take a few seconds there and just breathe into it. The most important thing, at least for tonight, that you want to be thinking about is what your arms are doing, because we're going to be on the hands quite a bit. So as you do your cat-cow, you want to feel really strong in the shoulders, and I love to do that by just pushing my hands into the floor like I was trying to push my mat away from me. And by constantly keeping that type of resistance, it helps me keep a more strong neutral shoulder, which you're really gonna want when we start to do like knee hovers and planks and all sorts of things in a second. Let's do one more of each, or just even yourself out, and then come back to your neutral spine. Curve on the neck, curve in the low back, supported upper back ribs pushing up. Tuck your toes under behind you. Now keep the shape of your back exactly the same and just float your knees 1 to 2 inches off the ground. Hold it for a few breaths. If you're truly in your neutral, when your knees lift, you're just gonna feel your abs turn on pretty automatically. You won't even have to think about it, it's gonna do it. Hold it for a few more seconds. Make sure you're really pushing those hands into the floor so your shoulders feel strong and supported. And then slowly bring it down. Feel free to rock a little weight off your hands for a sec if you have to. I know wrists can be sensitive. Maybe a quick counter stretch. But as soon as you can, just sit right back up onto the hands and knees in that neutral spine. Once again, you're gonna tuck the toes under, lift the knees up, and then from here, try a couple of your cat-cows. Belly button up, tailbone tucked, head rounded. And then arch the back, tailbone up, head and chest up and forward, all with those knees hovering off the ground. Even if you've done a million cat-cows in your life, adding this knee hover to it is gonna make it feel so foreign. It doesn't even really feel like the same thing, does it? The body has to work so much harder. But hopefully, in the midst of all that work, you can still get some of the same stretch. Let's go for one more of each. Try and keep your knees at the same distance off the floor so they're not constantly going up and down or anything like that. Quickly get into a neutral before you lower your knees down, and then give your wrist a little bit more love if you have to. You can fully flip them over for a counter stretch. You can shift some weight back and forth, or sometimes I just like to stay over my hands but make these little circles. Provides a little bit of relief without having to totally come off your hands. Good. All right, so from here, I think we're gonna slowly start to build our little circuit so I don't run out of time. So stay on your hands and knees, just crawl forward a bit. So you're towards the front of your mat and your legs have a little bit of space behind you. So this circuit is gonna be very, we'll say, plank-centric. So the best advice I can give you is to take all of these notes from the hands and knees and just copy and paste them into your plank, because it's the same thing with your legs in a different position. So set yourself up in neutral on hands and knees, tuck the toes under behind you, float your knees 1 to 2 inches off the ground, and then step the legs back one at a time. Don't change anything else, and that'll put you in a gorgeous plank. And from here, we'll take our first movement, which is an inchworm. You're gonna send your hips up and back. Very brief downward facing dog. As soon as you hit it, start to walk your hands back towards your feet. All the way until you have your weight 100% on the feet, and then you're gonna soften the knees, lift your abs, and roll all the way up to stand. Once you're up, go right back down, drop your chin, round your back forward. Now do what you gotta do to get your hands on the floor, so bend your knees as much as they have to, because you're gonna walk your hands out to your plank. Let's just take that one more time for practice, because you're gonna do plenty of them in a second. Hips up and back. As soon as you hit that down dog, walk your hands back to your feet. Soften the knees, roll all the way up, initiated from your abdominals. And as soon as you're up, go right back down. Hands on the floor, do what you gotta do with the knees. Gotta like negotiate with your own flexibility. Good. From here, our second movement will be a side plank variation. So you're gonna twist yourself over so you're on the right hand, come into your side plank, left arm up towards the ceiling. Good. Now here's what we're gonna add to it today. You're gonna take your left leg, which should be crossed in front, you're gonna lift it up, tap it down behind you, bring it back over to the front, and we'll change sides. Slowly bring your left hand back onto the floor. Same thing in your other side plank. Lift the right arm up to the ceiling. Your right leg should be crossed in front. You're gonna lift it up, tap it down behind you, bring it back to the front, and then back to the center. We'll do that one more time as well. First one's always a dress rehearsal. Come over to the side plank, lift the leg up, tap it back, bring it over to the front, and switch. And all of this can be done on the forearms as well. Right, you'll just come down to the forearms as you need. Move that leg back, and then back to the front, coming into the center. Good. Third movement, gonna be a little lunge-esque. Take your right leg, lift it up behind you, and you're gonna step it as far forward to the outside of your right hand as you can. So it's more like, I think in yoga it's a lizard pose. Don't quote me on that. I don't teach yoga. I love it though. And then step your right leg back. Do the same thing with your left. Lift it up behind you. Step it forward as far as you can to the outside of your left hand. Good, let's give each leg one more practice run. Again, you'll be doing plenty of all of this in a second. Left leg again. When you step the leg forward, there's a split second there where you can really put some weight on it and you just find a nice hip stretch. It'll also allow you to take some weight off your wrists if they start to get cranky. Good. Now, the last movement will be squats. Here's how we're gonna transition to it. Same thing almost. Step the right leg forward, outside of the right hand. Now step the left leg forward. Sit your butt down as low as you can. Take your hands off the floor, hold them in front of your chest, and then stand up. And that puts you in a good squat stance. And from here, plain simple squats. Sit your butt down and back, keep that spine neutral, and then drive your heels down to stand. Good, one more time for your practice run. And stand. Now, here's how we'll loop it all together. You're gonna take one more squat down. Do what you gotta do to get your hands back on the floor, right? You'll see my spine had to round a little bit. You may not be perfect, I'm certainly not. But once your hands are down, you're just gonna step those feet back so you're back in your plank and we're ready to go again. Now, before we do that, let's let the knees rest down for a second. Take a little weight off the hands. Do what you gotta do, shake them out because they're about to do some work. Take a counter stretch. Take some of those circles, whatever you need. It's not gonna be a long circuit, but here's how we're gonna do it. It's called a descending ladder. We're gonna do everything 4 times a piece. The next round, it'll be 3 times a piece, followed by 2, followed by 1. Simple math, and then we'll see where the time takes us. There'll be some moments where you can add push-ups in. I'll do that a little bit as well. If you're gonna add the push-ups in, just remember that a push-up is still a plank. You just bend and straighten your arms, so don't sacrifice what's happening in your core or your back or anything like that. Let's get into it. Let's go all the way back to our hands and knees so we can get ourselves set up as best as possible. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips, neutral spine. You got curve in the neck, little curve in the lower back, but low ribs pushing up to the ceiling so you feel your abs before you even do anything. Tuck your toes under behind you, float your knees up. Step one leg back at a time. You'll be in your plank and then we're ready to go. Starting with 4 inchworms, send your hips up and back. Walk your hands to your feet. Soften your knees and roll up. Drop your chin, roll down. Get your hands on the floor, walk back out to your plank. And that's 1. 3 more, take it back. Soften the knees, roll up. As soon as you're up, go right back down. Walk the hands out. 3rd time. Now, even though we're moving this a little faster, and again, you'll have more opportunities, still try and hit that downward dog for a second, just because it's a good stretch. So if you can have a split second for that calf stretch, it's great. Last time, inchworming for round 1. Once you're back out in your plank, we'll be starting those side plank variations.
I said 7:30.
We're gonna count right and left, each as 1. Coming into the side plank, tap that foot back. Bring it back to the front and change sides. To the left, tap the foot back. And switch, so that's 1, we got 3 more. As you do these side planks, it's really important you don't allow your ribs to sink. So whichever side I'm on, I think about my bottom rib lifting up to the top. I believe that was 2, we're halfway there. See, now I'm making life hard for myself. Because now the more I talk, the more I'm gonna lose count. So if the numbers get a little fakakta, I promise, we will even ourselves out at the end. Last time in round 1. If the leg's really throwing you off, you're always welcome to just hold the side plank. Now we're moving on to those lunges. Lift the right leg up, step it forward, and step it back. Left leg up and forward, and back. That's 1. Right leg. Left leg. Halfway there, right leg. Left leg. Last time of this for round 1. Now transition to the squat. Remember, we're gonna bring the right leg forward again, followed by the left. Take your hands off the floor, straighten your back out, get your hands in front of your chest and stand up. Now we have 4 squats, sitting down for 4, and 3, 2. Last time, you just stay down, put your hands back on the floor, step the feet back, you're in your plank, we go again, 3 reps apiece, we'll move it a little faster. Walking it back, soften the knees, roll up, bring it down, walk your hands out. 2nd time. Soften the knees, lift your abs, roll up. And take it down. Last inchworm for round 2. And then take it out. Up next to the side planks. Here's where you can start throwing some push-ups in if you want. Really, anytime you hit a plank, if you want to put a push-up in, I'm not going to stop you. We're going to open to that side plank, move the leg. And then as you come through the center, you can do a push-up. Other side. Obviously, push-up's totally optional. See, this is the beauty of the descending ladder principle. Once you finish round 1, everything gets shorter from there. So if you totally hate it, the worst part is the first part. Good. This is that last side plank for round 2. And then from here, we start to step the feet forward, finding that lunge. Alternating legs. Again, you want to throw a push-up here in between legs. I'm not going to stop you. I may not today. My arms are a little sore from something else. But don't let that stop you. Transitioning into the squat, keep your right leg forward. Bring the left one up to meet it. Lift your chest up. Put your hands in front of your chest, stand up. And then squat 3 times. 3. And 2. Last one, stay down. Place your hands on the floor, step your feet back. See, this next one's gonna feel really, really fast, which is the best part. 2 inchworms this time. Soften the knees, roll up. Another place you could throw in a push-up if you wanted. The second you hit your plank, go ahead and bend and stretch those elbows if you want. Just make sure you maintain the integrity of your spinal alignment. And now we go into the side plank. See, that's the beautiful thing. It's like exponentially decreasing. Throw in that push-up if you want. Now, when you do that foot tap, if you're doing it, it's really important you don't let your hips like twist at all. You want to keep the hip bones facing front. Definitely the hardest part, aside from the push-up. Now we do the lunges. Right leg steps forward and back. Left leg steps forward and back. See, now we only have one more time. That's what makes it beautiful. And then transition to the squat. Right leg stays forward. Left leg comes up to meet it. Sit down, chest up, hands in front of your sternum. Stand up, and you just have to do 2 squats. 1, more like 1.5 actually, because then you stay down, place your hands on the floor. Last round, everything just does 1 rep. It'll be over before you know it. 1 inchworm. Soften the knees, roll up. Bring it down. Throw in that push-up if you want at the end. Start your side planks. Over to the right. Move the leg up and over. Optional push-up. Left side plank, move the leg. Optional push-up. Legs come forward. Find that lunge. Feel that stretch in the hip. Transition to your 1 squat, right leg forward. Left leg to meet it. Lift your chest, hands in front of your sternum, stand. And this time you just do 1 squat down. Hold it. Place your hands on the floor, find your plank. Hold it. Here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna do everything 1 more time, but more as a stretch. Here's what I mean. Send your hips up and back and stay. Stay in that down dog. Catch your breath. We're gonna do the same movements now, like 1 time a piece. Very, very different approach though. Very different sensation. Feel your heels reach down to the floor. Palms really firm into your mat. Lower back as neutral as possible. You can soften the knees if you need to. All you really need to feel here is a good stretch through the calves and the backs of the legs, maybe through the shoulders. Kind of depends where your personal tightness is located. Now start to walk your hands back to your feet, take it slow. Once you're there, don't roll up yet, you're gonna stay in a forward fold for a second. Let yourself hang towards the floor. Soften the knees a little if you have to. You can grab opposite elbows for a moment. Soften the knees, slowly roll up, stacking one bone at a time. Take the time to really feel that as much as possible. You don't have to explicitly know what all your vertebrae look like, but you can imagine. Each bone is just trying to stack one over the other so you're nice and straight at the top. And then drop your chin, roll down. Take this one slow as well. Feel each bone fall off the one underneath it. The back likes to move in chunks sometimes, especially when we're tight, so this is your opportunity to really practice articulating, which just means like moving things individually or separately. And then from here, we're gonna walk the hands back out. Side plank will look very different here. You're gonna let your right knee come down, and then you're gonna spin the left heel to the floor, and then open up to this modified side plank. We're gonna do something totally different here for, again, a little more of a stretch. You're gonna take an inhale. Exhale, you're gonna twist your chest up towards the ceiling. Try and keep your hips facing forward. Now go the other way. You're gonna reach your left arm underneath you and just twist the other direction. Still hips facing forward. Good. Let's do that again. Reach your arm up, twist your chest to the ceiling, hips still facing forward. And then other way. Why not? Let's go one more. I don't know about y'all. Rotation is one of my favorite things. It's probably just because I need it. This feels so good. I'm not a very twisty guy, so any chance I get to really deepen that rotation feels awesome. And then we're gonna switch sides. You're gonna place your left hand back down on the floor, reach your right leg back again. You'll have a split second to feel your good old-fashioned plank, and then soften your left knee down. Spiral the right heel to the floor. Modified side plank. Open your chest up to the ceiling. Find that first rotation up to the sky. And then reach underneath yourself, counter twist. Good, I think we did 3 on the other side, so we'll do 3 here as well. One day I'm gonna get better at actually keeping track of my counting in class. If you ever do 1 extra of something or 1 less, it won't make or break your practice. Your quality of work is always the most important thing, by far, anyway. Not how much of something you do. Good, put that right hand back down. Come back to your good old-fashioned plank for a hot second. Now we're gonna step the right leg forward, and you're gonna hold. You can keep that back knee lifted, or you can let it rest down. You can also bring your forearms to the floor. And this is just all depending on your personal level of flexibility. Any and all versions are great. If you're down on your forearms, come onto your hands. If your left knee's down, tuck the toes under, lift it back up, step through your plank, other side. Now, you're gonna find that one side feels different than the other. For the vast majority of people, you might be special and it's different. But if you do feel different, just make sure that whatever you did on the first side, you did on the second side. So, if you put your knee down, put your knee down. If you came onto the forearms, do that here. And then whichever version you're doing, come out of it. It's step back into the plank. Same sort of transition to the next bit. You're gonna step the right leg back forward. Left leg up to meet it. Now, this will feel very familiar from a yoga class. Stealing again. I always steal from yoga. I think responsibly steal. Instead of standing up, you're just gonna sit your butt as low as possible. If you need to, keep your hands on the floor for balance. But if you feel secure, you're gonna try and lift the chest up. Bring your hands in front of your chest. Regardless, you wanna feel as much weight in your hips as possible. My senior year of college, I had this dance professor who I was very fond of, and he used the image when we were doing plies, which is like bending your knees. He would tell us to plie like we had a lead diaper on. I always thought that was a weird image, but it works. So here in this squat, you're gonna pretend you have a lead diaper on so that your hips feel really heavy into the floor and you sink into the hips and you feel this really great opening and stretch underneath you. And then you're just gonna put your hands back down. We're gonna find the plank one more time and then soften the knees down. Put your heels together, knees apart, sit back to a full child's pose. And let your chest sink through your thighs, arms reaching long in front of you. Take a really deep breath in and out so that your muscles get the hint that like, time to wind down. Now reach your upper body over to the right, which will put more stretch on the left side of your back. Take another deep breath here. And then take it over to the left. It'll put some extra stretch on the right side of your back. Good. Bring it all back into the center. Use your hands to walk yourself up. Roll your spine up nice and slow. Make sure your head is the last thing to get vertical. Good. We're gonna use our last couple minutes for one final little mobility series. I genuinely had like no idea how long that was gonna take. I never do, but we have a few minutes, so let's do one more thing. We're gonna do some mermaid stretches. Great for the hips and the lower back. So you have two options for your legs. Number one, which is my preferred, is to make this 90-degree angle with my shins. The right shin to the side, left shin to the front. If that's not manageable for you, you're gonna do this. You're gonna stack the legs one over the other. But in both versions, you're primarily sitting on the left hip, trying to get the right hip down best you can. The stretches won't change regardless of what leg position you're in, so don't worry about it. Reach your arms straight out to the side, grab onto your right shin with your hand and pull yourself over for a side stretch. Make sure you have a heavy right ear so that your neck is enjoying that same stretch. Always remember your next part of your spine. So anytime you're doing, some kind of stretch for your spine, your neck should be involved. Now we're gonna go all the way up and over to the left until your left forearm reaches the ground. Create a little negative space underneath you by lifting up those obliques, and then twist to bring your shoulders square to the floor. Now, from this twist, you're gonna have a couple of options. Option number one is just to stay here. Yeah, that may be enough. Option number two, reach your right leg back behind you. Get it straight. And if you want a little bit more, you're gonna reach your right arm forward. And then if you want a little bit more, you're gonna push into your left hand, come into an arch, try and reach your chest and your right arm up to the ceiling. Now, everybody, regardless of where you're at right now, you're gonna reach your right arm underneath you and get that right shoulder as close to the floor as you can. Keep your left hand down so you have some support, something to help keep you from getting stuck. and you're gonna sink that shoulder down as much as possible. And you might get a little shoulder stretch out of it, but more than likely it's just gonna deepen the twist in your low back. And then wherever you are right now, just come out of it. So if that back leg is straight, bend it in. We're gonna come back through our side bend. Lift all the way up. Just try and get as vertical as possible for a half a second, and then swing your legs around, other side. So whatever version you did on the first side, just try and remember so you can do the same on the second. Sides always feel different, but try and treat them the same so that hopefully over time you can even them out a little bit. Reach your arms out to the side, sit up as straight as you can. Grab onto your left shin, side bend over. Have a heavy left ear so that your neck also gets the stretch. Bring it all the way up and over to the right until your right forearm comes down. Lift that right waist up so you got some negative space. Twist down towards the floor to get your left forearm down. When you get here, you also might need to fidget a little bit. I always have to fidget my forearms a little so that my shoulders are more square to the floor. So don't worry if you have to make those little adjustments. And then from here, we take the same version that you did on the other side. Option number 1, stay here. Option number 2, straighten your left leg behind you. Option number 3, reach your left arm forward. Option number 4, press into your right hand, arch your back, reach your chest and your left arm up to the ceiling. And then no matter what position you're in right now, you're going to reach your left arm underneath yourself. Get your left shoulder as close to the floor as you can. Maybe you get a stretch in the shoulder, but you'll definitely get a deeper twist in your lower back. Final moment to breathe into it. And then reverse out of it. Try to come back through your side bend. But if your brain or your body gets a little confused, because we took a bit of a contorted path to get there, just make sure you wind up straight up again. I think we have like 60 seconds. Yes, we do. So one final stretch, something a little more symmetrical. I love it when there's more time than I think. More time is great. Just sit up straight. Don't worry about your facing, face wherever, who cares? Legs straight in front of you, parallel, hip distance apart. You're gonna sit as straight as possible. You can do what we did before for a moment if you want, like push your hands down, just to get the back even straighter. And then from here, as opposed to rounding forward, we're gonna take a long flat back. And then your hands are just gonna find somewhere to hold on to. So it might be the backs of your knees or your calves or your ankles, or if you can get there, grab onto your feet or your toes. I love a good yogi toe lock. Yet another thing that I've, I think, graciously stolen from yoga. And then we're gonna hold that back as straight as possible and as low as possible. But the straight back part is more important and will help you get a better stretch. If you have a really straight back, you're gonna get a better stretch even if you're not remotely as low. And then whichever version of where your hands are, you're gonna flex your feet, reach your heels away from you. That's gonna deepen the stretch even more for our last couple of breaths. And then finally you can let it go, round forward, and then roll your spine back up, sit tall. Because you're done. You did it, Pilates is over. Have a very happy rest of your Wednesday. Pleasure as always. I will see you same time, same place next week. Hopefully everybody cross your fingers. I'm still in this environment. Yeah, I think so actually, but I don't want to jinx anything. Enjoy the rest of your night and your week, and I will see you soon. Bye.